looking at a process that began ages before our life began, and one that will continue long after we're gone. The process by which the energy of the sun, the day star, sustains all earthly life. In nature, everything is in balance, but nothing is at rest. Winds blow, clouds form, day follows night. Early men understood this process, and so they built their homes to take advantage of what nature offered. The Pueblo Indians used the materials at hand. They built walls of mud which would absorb the heat of the day and radiate it slowly into their homes at night. They built rooms beneath the earth to insulate them from the desert cold. They built in caves beneath the overhanging rocks so that they could keep out the hot summer sun, but let in its warm rays in winter. In this way, they lived in harmony with nature. But we discovered coal, oil, gas. We acquired the ability to live wherever and however we wanted. We had new power, new freedom, and we loved it. We didn't need the porches or the shutters to keep out the sun. We could forget about nature. It was an age of easy energy. We only thought about the immense power of natural forces when the sun's energy was transformed into howling winds and furious storms. But the storm ends. The day star appears again, quietly sending billions of BTUs of energy to the Earth. For the most part, we have ignored this energy source. But as we realized our supply of fossil fuels would not last forever, we turned again to the sun. In almost every part of the United States, forward-looking architects, designers, and builders are using energy from the sun. Solar hot water heating is the easiest to install and is used in new as well as traditional homes. But solar space heating is becoming increasingly cost-effective, and even solar cooling is possible. On New York's Fire Island, architect Steve Robinson and engineer Fred Dubin have built a solar home for one of their clients. 3,000 miles away, environmental architect David Wright has built his partially buried solar home on California's usually foggy coast. In the Midwest, architects and faculty of the University of Minnesota have built this solar home. And on a quiet street in Princeton, New Jersey, architect Douglas Kelbaugh built his solar home. East, west, north, and south, from Maine to Santa Fe, New Mexico, solar homes of all kinds are being built. In some areas, the homes are designed so as to collect and store the energy. In other places, like here in Vermont, an array of solar collectors set back from the buildings will provide hot water and heat for a cluster of condominiums. The basic techniques for collecting solar energy are not new. Solar pioneers like Steve Baer in Albuquerque, New Mexico, have been demonstrating the techniques and improving them for many years.
They cool off every night. And the public is led to believe that they, at present, do not use solar energy. But that's not true.
It is the work of these pioneers that has produced elegant and sometimes exotic designs for solar systems. All solar systems need to control the flow of energy. Steve Baer designed this bead wall to provide movable insulation. When the sun's energy is not wanted, the vacuum cleaner motor fills the glass wall with styrofoam beads. And in Santa Fe, New Mexico, another kind of wall is being installed for the first time by builder Wayne Nichols.
The water wall works very simply. It has a cavity in the middle that gets filled with a bag that gets filled with water.
Good? Yeah. That's good.
The sun hits the exterior of the water wall. It pushes through the concrete into the water so that you can build up your temperature in a very uniform way and get it into the room.
But the use of solar energy is not limited to sophisticated devices. In some parts of the country, what worked for the Pueblos still works for men like Ben Larson.
This is going to be awfully close to 100% solar. In fact, according to my calculations, in December, I figure that we will have 1,777,000 BTUs a day.
In every solar system, there are three basic elements: collection, storage, and distribution. A collector can be as simple as this homemade greenhouse being attached to an existing home. Even conventional windows can collect energy if concrete walls or water columns like these are provided to absorb the heat. Specially designed solar collectors trap heat behind glass and transport it by water or air to large underground water tanks or rock beds. Professor Larry Medlin describes how his system works.
It goes up through the collector. At the top of the collector at the end here, there's a duct that goes across into the plenum space and down, and it follows along the end of the house there and over to the back side.
The stored energy can then be redistributed when it's needed, at night or when solar energy is low. Each solar home must be designed with an understanding of local climatic conditions. It must be designed to respond to changes in the weather or changes in the seasons.
The winter heating, the sun at the lower angle strikes a thermal wall during the day back here that is masonry. During the summer, the sun is much higher. We use the panels this time during the day to reflect the sun and keep the heat out of the greenhouse. Basically,
students like these at a convention of the American Institute of Architects are sharing their award-winning ideas for designing or redesigning homes to take advantage of the sun's energy. In every corner of the United States, people are rediscovering their connection with nature. To environmental architect David Wright, a solar house is like a sailboat.
If you're not prepared to interact with these outside forces, then you are at the mercy of them. But if you are aware of what it's doing, and you've designed your building so that it has the potential, then you can actually trim with the weather. You see what's happening outside, you feel what's happening inside, and you trim your craft to best deal with the conditions. Just by using the tools that nature gives us, you can play all of these games with the way nature operates.
And if you start thinking about where your house is and what your house is exposed to in terms of natural environment, these answers start coming to you because it's all natural. You just got to think about it and find it.
David and Barbara Wright's house embodies all the principles of a good solar home. The house faces the sun. The wide expanse of glass lets sunlight into every room. The walls of concrete, like the Pueblo mud walls, provide structural support as well as heat storage. The walls, the floors, absorb heat slowly and radiate it slowly, so the house is kept warm during a cool night or a foggy day. The house is partially buried, and the roof is covered with sod to take advantage of natural insulation. The Wrights control the amount of sun's energy and the distribution of heat by means of drapes and vents. When needed, a wood stove provides additional heat. In California or in New York, the architect begins by looking at the nature of his site.
The natural forces are putting into this site all the time. They're either putting in sun from the east, the south, and the west, or they're putting in wind from the southwest. The natural forces are operating. And what we're trying to do is to respond to those natural forces with a building that'll take advantage of them and use the ones that are beneficial and keep out the ones that hurt. All of that south glass is covered with an overhang, so that the sun riding high in the sky during the summer is blocked from hitting the surface of the glass, so it too doesn't radiate directly into the building because of the overhangs. And in the winter, all the bad weather, the rough weather, is all coming from the north, primarily from the northwest. So what we've got here is a beautiful natural berm in these sand dunes. And what we've done is to continue the line of that berm on a sloping north wall, so that the house is responding to the natural environment on each elevation in a different way.
In Santa Fe, New Mexico, Karen Terry built this home designed by architect David Wright. Like most new solar homes, it faces the sun.
One time when I had bought new land for the second house I built, and I was out there in a snowstorm in the winter, and I had my parka on. The wind was really blowing from the north, and I put my parka hood up and stood, I was waiting for somebody, stood with my back to the north, with the parka hood up, and faced the south, which is exactly the way the house ended up being.
But Karen Terry's home does more than protect her from the weather. Because it is built like steps, air circulates throughout the house by natural convection.
It's fairly comfortable in here, and the reason is because this door and these windows here and this door are all, air is being sucked in here, and there's a window right up at the top of that stairwell that's just like a chimney, and it's just pulling the air through and cooling it. And the greenhouse is really like a great big sail. I mean, you get into it. You get into feeling that the house suck up the heat, you know, when the sun's going, and you feel it moving out. And
right.
It really plugs you back into a set of natural rhythms.
We react to the house. We do things as a result of the weather to respond to it. It makes us more aware of the weather, and that's good. It kind of makes you more alive.
All of a sudden, you're responding to nature again. You're living with it. It's working you. You're moving back and forth with it, and you're trying to interact with it intellectually and physically.
Interacting with nature can excite the imagination, but making practical use of the sun's energy may require us to take steps which we do not yet feel prepared for.
He's got windows on the north side. You don't even have to have the front door on the north side. Do you realize that the cold air in the wintertime is going to rush right in and just wipe out all of your heating? Now that his first story is up, I can see that he has some windows on the north side.
Well, I do not have a large background in solar energy and so forth, so it strikes me right away as something that I would like to have and look further into, but the initial house, the first house that I build, I have to stay pretty much to the things that I know.
And you're saying that, well, you're going to have to change your lifestyle to adopt to this.
You don't tell them anything. It happens.
There's lots of people out there that have already changed their lifestyle. Mm-hmm. And they're looking in the marketplace.
Or wanting to change.
For an environment to reflect their changed values.
Some people think change in lifestyle means you've got to shiver a little because it's good for you.
No.
If we respond to nature, Will we have to change our lifestyle? Will we have to return to a simpler way of life?
The building techniques are the same building techniques that have been used by Pueblo Indians for thousands of years. What's revolutionary is the way that those ancient techniques and building materials are combined with space-age materials and high technology developments.
Technology is increasing the efficiency of solar systems. These collectors absorb considerably more energy for their size than adobe walls or water-filled tanks. But perhaps even more important, they can be used on buildings which were not designed to use solar energy. We might wish to start over, but most of us must start with what we have. We can add collectors, we can increase insulation, restore shutters or overhangs, but inevitably we face the problem of cost. Mechanical solar systems generally cost more than conventional systems, and as yet, solar systems cannot usually provide 100% of our energy needs. But the fuel is free, and since fuel costs are rising and mass production is lowering collector cost, solar is becoming more economically feasible. But can the full value of solar systems really be measured? What is the worth to our society of using a non-polluting, renewable resource?
My generation has been very careless in the use of sources of energy. And I worry about my children and feel that it really is up to us to try to conserve as much as we can for them. And I like the feeling of being very independent. And no one can prevent me from using the sun.
People have to become more and more in control of their own lives. Then when we talk about insulation or any other energy conservation method, or even solar, it becomes less of a romantic, exotic kind of thing. It becomes more of a tool for how do we beat the system, so to speak. This is a trend, I think, that's coming more and more, where families and individuals and neighborhoods across the country are trying to find ways that they can be back in control, that they can feel as if they are making decisions and they are doing things for themselves, kind of self-reliance. And solar does offer that opportunity.
It's an old American tradition, you know. I mean, self-reliance, independence, and I'm talking about energy independence from foreign nations. And I'm saying that every single American can have an impact on that. And if we each do, there'll be a national change.
Just as we have ignored the energy supplied directly by the sun, we have forgotten the power in the wind, which is also produced by solar energy. But changes are taking place. Here, it is a tower for a wind generator. In another place, it is a solar collector on a rooftop. And in still another place, people are joining together to build a solar greenhouse.
To me, solar is a tool. And what it does is it really enables every single homeowner to work within a framework of self-reliance. You want to reduce your energy burden? This is something every one of us can do. And that's what's so exciting about it.
We can be grateful to the experimenters, inventors, and builders who took risks, and visionaries who knew that solar homes were more than a plaything for the wealthy. They were and are models for the future. Perhaps, when future generations look back on this time, they will see that the most positive effect of all was the rediscovery of what is natural in ourselves and in our world.